Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still he answered the call. And we said, be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still he answered the call. And we said, be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show.
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning then, you might as well go home today.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen and ladies? Welcome back to another Officer Tatum show. We got a whole bunch of stuff I want to talk about. First of all, make sure if you want 70% off the Tatum store, go to tatumstore.com, tatumstore.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, RFK files. Now, there is not a lot of information necessarily coming out. I mean, I said RFK, JFK files. I'm sorry. I'm looking at RFK and I'm thinking of RFK. But the JFK files, there's not a lot that's been disseminated because there's a lot of documents to go through. And I think we were going to have to parse through those documents over a period of time before we get anything substantive. Okay. So, but I do want you guys to know that there is some skepticism from RFK about what could have possibly happened to his uncle. Now, let me go through a few facts here that could be contributing factors that we looked up and researched. And I'm going to lay those out real quick. And then I want to hear from RFK. And then we're going to go down the list of, possibilities here. There's some people that believe that the CIA did it. I think a lot of people believe the CIA did it. I need to read all the files to be unequivocally factual about that. But according to some of our research, there was tension between JFK and CIA Director Allen Dulles. And their conflict came over the Bay of Pigs operation, which the CIA, partook in, and RFK or JFK had an incredible problem with it. And some of you guys don't know about the Bay of Pigs operation. It was the Bay of Pigs operation, I believe, had something to do with them overturning. Oh, no, that's not the one. I'm in the wrong one. I'm thinking of the Operation Mongoose, with them overturning Fidel Castro or getting rid of Fidel Castro as the Cuban government or the leader of Cuba. So let me just go with this. I'm gonna play RFK's statement, and then I'm gonna come back to these facts here. Roll the clip.
My uncle John Kennedy, did that. He refused to go to war, so he was surrounded by military-industrial complex and he learned very early and an intelligence apparatus that he realized early on that the purpose of the CIA and the intelligence apparatus was to create a constant pipeline of new wars for the military-industrial complex. The day 3 days before he took the oath of office, Eisenhower, who was the outgoing president, gave what is probably the most important speech in American history, which was, where he warned against the military-industrial complex. I was at my uncle's inauguration. I was in Washington that day as a 6-year-old boy. And I was sitting on the stands behind him, in front of him during his inauguration. And he understood that. And 2 months later, the military and intelligence came to him and said, we got to invade Cuba. And he was like, I'm not going to Cuba, and I'm not going to let the military. And they said, well, we got all these Cubans trained, and they're going to go attack Castro. And he said, well, we can't, the U.S. government can't be doing that. We can't be attacking. I don't like what Castro's doing down there, but it's not the United States' job to dictate what kind of governments other countries have. And they said, well, as soon as they land, there's going to be a big revolution. Everybody's going to rise up, and they're going to overthrow Castro. And he said, well, you can't use the U.S. military. And they ended up bringing those guys over with United Fruit boats. And in the middle of it, the night, they came to him and said, they're getting wiped out on the beach, and you need to send in the military and invade. And he said, we're not going to do it. And he stepped out of that meeting, and he realized they had been lying to him and trying to trick him. And he said, I want to take the CIA and it into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. And then, for the next 1,000 days of his presidency, he was at war with his military and intelligence apparatus. They tried to get him to go into Laos. He said no. They tried to get him to go into Vietnam with combat troops. They said that we need 250,000 combat troops. He refused. Everybody around him wanted him to go into Vietnam. He sent 16,000 military advisors. That's fewer people than he sent to get James Meredith into Ole Miss in Jackson, Mississippi, to get one black man into school. He sent fewer in Vietnam. They weren't allowed to fight. Many of them did. They violated the rules of engagement. In October of 1963, he heard that some of his Green Berets had been killed over there. And he said, I want a casualty list from Vietnam. And his aide came to him and said, 75 Americans have died. He said, that's too many. And he signed that day a national security order ordering all troops out of Vietnam, U.S. troops. The first 1,000 over the next month, and then the rest by the beginning of 1965. And then a month later, he was killed.
All right, so that's a little bit of information. Let me just be in full transparency. I need to study this a little bit deeper. I'm not going to say my staff prepared me very well, but to understand the true conflict here, I need to study this a little bit more. It wouldn't surprise me that the CIA would take out somebody like JFK. It wouldn't surprise me that the CIA would take out somebody like Martin Luther King. The question is, once we get through all of these files and get to the bare bones of what's really going on, because I'm one of those people that do not want to be a conspiracy theorist. I know there's people that saying Israel has something to do with it. There's people that saying the CIA has something to do with it. Obviously, RFK believes that the CIA killed him because he wasn't operating under the military-industrial complex, and they couldn't control him, and they wanted to do their bidding across the world and create world power and control and all this old crazy stuff, and he was against it. So it would make sense for them to kill him, and then the next person in will just do everything they want them to do. I don't understand how the CIA works, right? I'm just being honest. Like, I think most Americans don't understand. I remember when I first thought about the CIA, and this is something I'm going to study. In my mind, I'm like, what does the CIA do? Actually do? And it's this theology that the CIA is running its own rogue operations to where they could have combatants or people who are militarized that can actually kill American citizens, go across other countries and kill people and start wars and do all kind of stuff. And then it posed a question in my mind, well, how's the CIA a part of the executive branch, which I think that they are, but allegedly not controlled by the executive branch, meaning that they operate under their own volition, meaning that the president has no say in it and don't know what they're doing. That's what I'm under the impression that that's what it is. How does that happen? And how has it been happening so far? How does the CIA how does the government kill somebody in the government and the government not know about it? This is why I'm saying this. I'm questioning, how does this really work? Because Donald Trump was in office for 4 years. How did, in 4 years of Donald Trump being in office in 2016, that we don't have any valid information about how the CIA was killing our own people? And we just now going to release it now, but there's no unequivocal statements that that's what it is and that we have unequivocal evidence. So it's very confusing to me. I got to do some deep dive and research or bring somebody on that understands this a lot more than me. But I'm just as curious as some of you guys about this. Is it, according to the rumors that I've heard about the CIA, is it impossible for the CIA to do this? No, I don't think it's impossible. I think that they could be killing people in America. But it's crazy that the government don't understand what they're doing. There's no evidence that they're doing it, and there's nobody to have oversight of what the CIA is doing. That's the perplexing, bizarre part of me. And the JFK situation, and there's 63 files that have been released thus far, 63,000 files that have been released thus far. Some people say there's millions of pages of documents. So as they come out, I'm going to try to do my due diligence to be more informed about this, or have a guest on that knows more about this than I do. Because many of you guys probably know I haven't been in politics for an incredible long time. And some of this stuff is still confusing as heck to me. And what I don't want to do is follow people because they say it, and I'm just going to jump on the bandwagon and say stuff that may not even be true. I don't ever want to be that person. Pushing conspiracy theories because all the conservatives say it's conspiracy. I'm like, no, let me read it for myself. Let me be really truly informed. Let me get some experts that are on this topic on both sides to figure out what really happened. But it's very interesting, the intertwining personnel that's involved in this JFK situation and others that we have seen that have gone on in our country. Because how do we not know the CIA wasn't responsible trying to kill Donald Trump? That could be the case. I don't know. But how do we not have a system in place that we should always know? Now that we're in office and the CIA is under the executive branch, why do we not have a policy position in place where Donald Trump knows and is transparent everything the CIA is doing? Every person that works for the CIA, every personnel, Donald Trump knows them. Not saying know them personally, but he knows them and there's their number, he knows where they're traveling. Then how can the CIA overthrow its own government? Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Tim Walz, who's the dumbest man on planet Earth, and your girl Jasmine Crockett is the second dumbest. The derangement that I see from these liberals when it comes to their hatred and vitriolic behavior against conservatives or people who are conservative friendly is insane to me. Why would a man get on a stage and say that he wish and he's happy and excited that Tesla stock is going down? Why would a man do that? To have any integrity or any kind of gumption or anything, get on stage and say something this stupid because he's mad at Elon for what? What is he mad at Elon about? Where is this coming from? I'm going to let you listen to what he had to say, and then we're going to get on, because I think that Kevin O'Leary actually had to go on the news and just blast all these people over this. But I want you to hear exactly what he says first, so you know why I'm upset about this and why everybody else is commenting about this. Roll the clip.
On my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out, just telling you.
Yeah, like people, but you can't take the T off the back of the Tesla that's imprinted in the trunk. But just so you guys know, I want to put some context around this. And this happened on March the 18th. Walsh was in Wisconsin at a town hall meeting called the People versus Musk. They had a whole town hall called the People versus Musk, where he mocked Tesla's falling stock, which you heard, claiming that Elon Musk was an unelected South American, Nepo baby, that Musk roasted, and then Musk obviously had to come back because he roasted Walsh along with Kamala Harris for failing in the election miserably. And then Elon Musk responded back by saying to him that sometimes when I need a little boost, I look at J.D. Vance's portrait in the White House and thank the Lord. That's what Musk said against him. But I did a little bit of research before we get to Kevin O'Leary and them. I did a little bit of research because I thought it was important. People don't understand that majority of Tesla's stock isn't Elon Musk. It doesn't belong to Elon Musk. He's only a 20% owner in the company. Now, he's the biggest individual shareholder, but he only has 20% of the company. I did a little research on Tesla shareholdings from the populace and then how Tesla's shares are disseminated in the retirement system in Wisconsin. Now, let's look at this. The largest investors, about 44% of Tesla stock is owned by big groups like mutual funds and pension funds, which is a part of the Wisconsin pension and all these other people who have your pension funds invested. Company insiders, I mean people that work for Tesla, on 21% of stock owned by people who work for Tesla, including CEO Elon Musk. So he owns about 20%, and I bet, no, it's just about 20% of total. So he owns about 20%, and it's 1% from the people who work there that own stock. And then the everyday investor, like you and I, small companies like mine, 35% of Tesla stock is owned by those individuals. So when this dummy gets out here and says that he's glad that the stock is going down, it's not just hurting Elon. It's hurting everybody that have invested their money in a Tesla. It's hurting all of these pension programs and these mutual funds that literally have investments in Tesla. If you look at the Wisconsin state, and this is as of September the 30th of 2024, Wisconsin Investment Board held approximately 1.6 million shares of Tesla, valued at $440 million, which represents 1.1 of its entire portfolio. So he's out here in Wisconsin talking stupid, and people are cheering that their investment portfolio is going down and that their pension fund portfolio could be going down. And just say the company was dissolved altogether. That's $400 million gone. A lot of people, the 35% of people who are everyday people like you and I, who have investments in our portfolio in Tesla, gone. So because you don't like the man, you want everybody to get screwed. All right, let's go to the CNN clip. Roll it.
Breaking windows, whatever, all of that is bad. But the question is, I mean, is it okay for an American company to just be hated, for people to want it to not do well?
I think go back to point one. When you set a car on fire, you should go to jail. You're a criminal.
Any car,
I don't think we have to talk about it
not
in any
just
other
Tesla.
context. And all those cars have cameras in them, and those dealerships have cameras. You're beyond being stupid when you do that. You're going to go to jail, and you now have a government that just got their mandate. They can't wait to find idiots that do this. You're going to spend 5 to 20 years in prison. If they get them on terrorism, which I think is a stretch, they will have no parole, no shortened sentence. They'll rot in hell in prison for 20 years. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, that's okay. Breaking in, shooting a car, setting on fire, nothing to do with the politics, nothing to do with Tesla. You are a criminal. And you should go
what about the broader
to
question
jail.
about the protest factor? I mean, you heard
What
Tim Walz.
protest?
You-
You're
I mean,
a criminal.
I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments about the Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his
I
state.
mean,
That's their
to
investment
your
fund.
point,
What a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively small amount, but that's one company, one single stock, and that's because Tesla is a huge part
he's in
of
glee?
the tech growth. But this is not the first time. Let's play some of the Budweiser sound just to remind people of this was just a couple years ago, actually.
American beer brand Bud Light knocked $4 billion off of its parent company Anheuser-Busch's market cap this past week. And this is great. This is a great thing, and we need to keep it up.
I understand Bud Light is piss water masquerading as beer. So I guess that, you know, it's sort of trans beer.
This boycott is just getting started. It's not losing its legs. It's not petering out. It's not waiting for the storm to pass. This boycott means business. This boycott, this is such wonderful news.
Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
You can't make it up. But look, I mean,
there is a difference.
I mean, what is the difference? I mean, I'm not talking about the violence. We've already established that. What's the difference between that and Tim Walz saying, I get a kick out of it?
First of all, look, Tim Walz is a complete moron to me. I have to be very honest, and I'm not surprised why the American people did not choose him. Nothing against the vice president. With that said, Elon Musk employs 80,000+ Americans. Most of them are working class people. The implications of the stock, let's say this were to continue on for another year, so I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Will the company at some point have to decrease its workplace? Most of those people, I would imagine, probably vote for Democrats, at least some of them. So now you're impacting people who likely share your worldview because you disagree with Elon Musk. Don't buy the car. Just like those guys are saying, let's protest Anheuser-Busch, et cetera. We're just not going to buy their beer. I'm okay with that. But destroying public property, there is no place for that. I agree with Kevin. Lock them up and set an example that this is not what we're going to tolerate.
Obviously.
All right, let's do this real quick. Let me put this in perspective. I like to comment on this. So when it comes to the difference between Tesla and Anheuser-Busch, is that Anheuser-Busch, people decided that they weren't going to buy Anheuser-Busch. And therefore, the stock price dropped. Why? Because they put a tranny in their advertisement to a company that 100% is a male-driven company. They use women for sex to push the product to men. Well, men do the purchasing of Anheuser-Busch or purchasing of Bud Light. And so when you disrespect your clientele, your customer base, people do what? They just don't buy the product. And so they're cheering about the product having to turn its priorities around from a transgender person drinking beer to getting back to its original form where people enjoyed it, and that's why they purchased it. In Elon Musk's case, what has he done against people besides being a conservative? And then they're not saying, don't buy a Tesla, sell your Tesla. We wouldn't have a problem with it. It'd be the same argument. But no, they're burning Teslas. They're attacking people and assaulting people at the Tesla headquarters. And then the dumb politicians are celebrating because, as you notice, there wasn't a politician in any of that. Those are all political pundits. We're talking about politicians, people who are managing your pension and saying, I'm glad Tesla is going out and can't tell you why. That's the problem and the difference that I see between both of them. And they should be ashamed of themselves. Roll the clip.
People will go to jail. I mean, you can't burn a dealership and not get caught eventually and go to jail. But it is, again, the broader question here about has it crossed the line when people are sort of rooting for the failure of a company?
Well, first let me say, until yesterday, I think I was one of the only Democratic elected officials to unambiguously condemn the violence and destruction against Tesla. I don't think you have to be tough on crime to do that. As you know, my grandfather is part of Gandhi's Satyagraha movement, independence movement. He said sabotage is a form of violence. I mean, this is not the best form of protest, and it's not the tradition. The second point is, I'm not going to root against Tesla. There are 20,000 people who work in my district who make a living off this. They're building electric vehicles that ultimately are good for the climate. I have huge, huge problems with what Elon Musk is doing. Have the protest and the conversation and criticism of Musk. Don't take it out on a company where you have workers, where you have engineers, where you have scientists, which are creating wealth for the country, which is helping the climate. And I think Democrats have to be able to offer common sense perspectives, focus on what the problem is with Musk. Don't focus on the wealth of a company.
I don't condone violence, but I wish people would take a look in the mirror and see what's actually happening. This is not an America First company. It's a South African First company. That's what Tesla is. But this is the same party that talks about
Hold
America
on.
first and make America.
Dang, can y'all get some smart? I mean, the young guy there is smart. I have to say, they got one smart black person on there. But for every one black person they put on there smart, they put an idiot on there. This is a South African first company. How many Teslas are in South Africa? I don't even need to look it up. It dang sure ain't as many that's in America. Just driving here today when I was dropping my son off to school. I'm driving up the freeway. There's Tesla here, Tesla there, Tesla here, and 2 Teslas behind me. And y'all want clean energy, remember? The carbon footprint and all this other stuff. South African. I would think Tesla's a Phoenix company. To be honest, I ain't seen so many Teslas in Phoenix. It's insane. Now, what crack, cocaine mixture are you doing to speak out of your mouth on national TV say so? South American first. Elon don't even live in South Africa because he was born there at some point. What are you even saying? Roll the clip.
America great again, but they're giving someone unfettered access who is an immigrant. And if you leave it to this party to talk about, there's no space for immigrants.
Okay.
No. Some of us are here by force.
Some of us are lesser immigrants?
No, you're right. That's exactly what y'all think. That's exactly what y'all think.
He's a lesser immigrant?
No. What I'm saying is...
He's tainted because he's from South Africa and he's really brilliant?
You know what is so funny about that? Y'all are also the party of the birtherism movement.
Wow, he's a tainted immigrant.
No.
Wow.
That's what you all would have liked to say about Barack Obama.
Where do I fit? I'm Irish Lebanese. Am I like second class or where am I?
You tell me, ask your party.
Wow.
She's so silly. Angela Rye is so silly. Did y'all see her? What argument did she make right there? These people get on TV, they're unprepared, and they just say things that are superfluous. There's no way in the world you can make an argument that it's a South African company. And then he just caught her in a loop because she had to say that some immigrants are more important than others. She's dumb enough with the Democrat Party to say that you want Nana and them to come over here and live off the government versus a person who's probably contributing to a large portion of income for our government. But she's better than him. He need to go bad man. She need to stay living off the government. This is how they prioritize immigrants. I thought we were all equal. No, if we don't like you, you're not a good immigrant. If you're a black person, no, if we don't like you, being black it means nothing. You're a minority, who cares if we don't like you? You gay, you trans, lesbian, we don't like you no more. You can't be a part of LGBTQ, AARP, NAACP, NCAA. You can't be a part of none of that because you're on the wrong side and we don't like you. There's another clip that I wanted to play. I think it was the one from Andrew Schultz. Is that the Andrew Schultz one? We only have one CNN clip in the Andrew Schultz one, right? Roll it.
So,
For real.
So this is like a kind of situation where, like, yes, I understand that he's antagonizing people. He's like rubbing people the wrong way. You don't like the guy. You don't like the beliefs. You don't like what he's doing. And there are things to criticize. I'm not saying there aren't things to criticize. Like nobody's above criticism. But to punish that car company that is 100% made in America, made by people living in America, Americans rely on those jobs. Like, maybe we criticize another thing.
Right.
Like, what is your goal? That we shut down those factories and those Americans lose those jobs? That makes you feel better about your gripe with Elon?
That's the thing. Some people, they just want to win an argument, it feels like, you know.
And they don't realize there's people that rely on those jobs.
I think that was a good. I wish I'd had more of that clip and more of the Kevin O'Leary clip. But I think you guys get the point and get the perspective. I think it's very clear that these people are nutty. I think it's clear that they hate the American people. They don't really care about you. They let their emotions get the best of them, so then they will make irrational decisions to benefit their weaponized emotions. They don't care if it hurts you. They don't care about the 80,000 people that work for Tesla. And probably in the next, 10 years, there could be 100,000 plus people that work for Tesla. And that's just Tesla. We're not even talking about SpaceX. We're not even talking about other business ventures that Elon Musk is involved in that employ probably over 100,000 people. But they don't care about you. Can you get that through your mind? They don't care. Because if they don't like you today, then everything you do, even if it includes hurting American people, they are for it. They're for the destruction of America. They're for the destruction of freedom. They're for the destruction of the family. When are we gonna catch on to what the Democrats are doing? They've been evil since their inception. The only reason that people even like them or they got any gravitas is because at some point they tried to do what they think you want them to do in order for you to vote for them. Not because they truly cared, and because they truly wanted was sustainable for America. I don't think they've ever been right. The party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party that filibustered against the civil rights movement, the party that did not unanimously vote for women's rights to vote. It's the same party that we're talking about today that have a vested interest in screwing you over as an American because they don't like this person. It's crazy to go after a man's company because you don't like him. Why? Because he's exposing the government. That's simply what this is about. And so anytime your friends say something to you about this, you say, you mad at him for exposing the government? Oh, he has unfettered access. What has he done with your Social Security numbers? What has he done against you? What crime has he committed? What crime is he being accused of committing? Nothing. You guys are mad because he might have access to your stuff, appointed by Donald Trump, but not because he did anything. Okay. Because he can do something. Because he's going around and saying, you're spending way too much money here, and here. It's crazy. Now he's hated. It's insane. Let's jump on somebody else. Jasmine Crockett. I talked about it yesterday. This video came across my radar and I just had to set the record straight with this. I think it's incredibly asinine that this woman said this. Now, the guy in the video debunked a lot of things that she said. I don't need him to debunk it. I can do it. But I want y'all to hear her clip and how I've been telling y'all ever since I've been doing this that black people are far more racist than white people are. And I don't know. I don't think it's just inherent. I think it's because black people live in an environment that they can be as racist as they want to be openly, and they get celebrated for it. She could get a round of applause by talking about how bad white people are, and she is insanely incorrect. Roll the clip.
Let me make sure y'all got the facts. Most extreme crimes that take place in this country are committed by white supremacists. 80% of extreme crimes are committed by white supremacists in this country.
Shall we educate?
Now, where does she get that information from? This is how politicians play you for a fool to manipulate statistical data. Is she saying most extremist acts are white supremacists? Does she mean people that are considered to be extremists, which there's 45 acts a year and 40 of those are white supremacists? Because where have you ever met a white supremacist? Where are these people at? I ain't never seen them. And you say 80% of crime is committed by them. 80% of these violent crimes or whatever crimes you're trying to say. The most heinous crime that you can ever do is murder. Do we agree? So you're saying 80% of the murders are perpetuated by white supremacists? Now, the second question I want to ask Miss Crockett, Miss Crocker Crap, this is what she really is that do you consider black people to be white supremacists? I wonder. Let's look at the stats. It won't take you too long to look this up. Black people make up 13% of the population in the United States of America. Let's forget that because every black person is not a murderer. Every black person ain't even eligible to murder. Some of them are, if you look at 13%, there's a percentage that's too old to murder somebody, and there's a percentage that's too young. And then you look at the murder by gender. It's 90% plus of murders are men. So let's take women out of it. You're saying now, if you take half of the percentage of blacks who live in America, and you break that down to 6%, that's still not enough breaking down of the numbers. Because that's not every man in America, every black man in America is not a murderer. So when you look at it, and the most murders are occurring between people that are like 16 to 30 something. So most men who are criminals are not that age group. And every man who's a criminal that's black are not committing murder. So break the numbers down even more than that. You're saying about 1% of the population of the United States of America is committing 51% of murders and manslaughter cases, or committing those crimes. This statistic says arrests. 51% of the arrests for murder and manslaughter are by black individuals. That's less than 1% of the population committing over half of all murders in this country. And this fool says 80% of violent crimes, or whatever she's saying, is she saying hate crimes? I don't know what she's trying to say, are committed by white supremacists. Are you willing to call black people white supremacists? What exactly are you saying, Miss Ignorant? And then you can look at any statistical data marker and you'll say it's even worse than this number, because these are arrests. And we know that over 80% of investigations that occur in Chicago in these homicide cases go unsolved. They go unsolved. Or they don't have a suspect because people ain't snitching. Somebody get murked in the street, nobody telling. Nobody's telling. Nobody gonna snitch on their homeboy. So these young brothers are laying dead cold in the street with no suspects. So that number of 51% of arrests, if you count arrests and also people who committed the crime, actually, we're probably talking 70%. Oh, okay. Y'all don't want to hear that. Don't listen to me then. Go listen to somebody that's going to tell you a lie. You look at the statistical data of murder who more. Black people murder white people twice as much as white people murder black people. Go look it up, FBI statistics. All you got to do is look up the FBI UCR data statistics. This that I'm reading is from 2019. I haven't seen one more modern than 2019, and I guarantee you it's gotten worse. Where you at, Jasmine Crockett? Where you at? Now you can look at the statistical numbers of overall arrests. It's almost 70% of all the arrests, the overall arrests, are arrests of white people. So here's a twofold scenario that I need you to look into, or need you to understand. We're not talking about the total murders. We're talking about the per capita murders, or per capita crimes of arrests. Murders, black people are far even outside of per capita. Just the sheer numbers, they're over half. But when they go, black people are arrested more, black people do this, they do that, white people getting arrested more than black people are. If you look at the totality of the numbers. So what are y'all saying? Make your mind up. Either they're targeting black people to arrest them for no reason. That's one argument. Are you sticking to that argument? Or you have to admit that black people per capita are committing more crimes and arrested more. Make your mind up which one you're going to do, Crockett. Now the guy goes on. You can put him on the camera. The guy goes on. Is this associated? The guy goes on to articulate in the other video, but keep this one on, to articulate some of the similar things that I said. I just cut it out because I could say it better than him. Now, this is a Fox News article about murder, about some of the missing numbers. I'm assuming from Jasmine about murder. And maybe he'll agree with me. Roll the clip.
Both the FBI and the victim survey are estimates. They are counts based on a couple assumptions. One, the assumption that the people you're reaching out to and being surveyed in the case of victims are representative of Americans as a whole. The second thing is, when it comes to the FBI numbers, they only reflect, one, what victims report to the police, and two, what the police report up to the FBI. The transition to the new system, NIBRS, has been going on for decades, but so many agencies were not participating or participating fully that the FBI had to make it, in their view, mandatory. And that happened in 2021 because the old system was very limited in what data it collected. The counts of offenses and some basic demographic information about offenders and victims. The new system is much more detailed, has dozens of data points for every offense. As a result, it's much more burdensome for both large and small departments to comply. So there was a huge gap in compliance when the first year of mandatory rollout happened in 2021. We saw participation drop from almost 90% to 60% in many agencies not complying. So the FBI decided to take a step back and say, you can use the old system if you need more time. And that's effectively what happened. We saw a number of agencies who were not complying begin to use the old system again and submit data. There are unknown unknowns, and that's really what's at the base of this. The victimization survey and the Center for Disease Control's numbers on homicides diverge widely from the numbers put out by the FBI. That doesn't mean the FBI is wrong. It just means that the FBI is measuring something differently. And that different measurement means that it's hard to compare those. And I think in the words of the former LA police chief, Charlie Beck, said, crime is not measured by the FBI statistics. It's measured by what you feel like when you walk outside your door. So some people aren't reporting crime. Some people perceive crime to be higher than it is. And that perception becomes reality. So when we say that the estimates are off, all estimates are off. Inherently, they're estimates. And the FBI is now using estimates to get to a more accurate figure than the raw reporting totals. But that doesn't mean that they're more wrong or less wrong. It just means that they're still wrong. You know, we can talk about.
All right, let me interject, because I think that what he's saying is different than what. Okay, I see what he's saying. He's talking about the surveys, the crime survey. That's very different than UCR code, which is what I was reporting on. I'm reporting on UCR code. The UCR code, when there's a crime committed, meaning that there is a person involved in an incident, as a police officer, you have to clear the call with a certain UCR code. That means that if I go to a call and somebody's murdered a person, when that UCR code clearance, I have to put in 0101. That means murder. So therefore, that statistical data has to be reported to the FBI. If someone is arrested and the case report that they were arrested under has a clearance code of 0101, that means that person was arrested under the UCR code of murder, right? If you get arrested under 1801, you get arrested under 1801, that's drugs. So if a person is arrested and the clearance code of that call is 1801, or the investigation is 1801, then that person is responsible for a drug arrest. And that's how the UCR code that I'm looking at from the FBI is done. The gentleman here is talking about a survey, meaning that you survey people and you get information from different agencies or individuals that report, for instance, that they were victimized of something, or that whatever the case may be. That's not necessarily a UCR clearance, which is an official clearance document. Now, maybe, just maybe, Jasmine was talking about some survey that was done, and therefore she made the claim that 80% is whatever. She's definitely not talking about UCR code now that I think about it. She can't be, or she's completely lying. Let me give you another statistical data point that you should be observing. Also, cases that do not have an arrest are very fickle, if that makes sense. So what we're talking about in the UCR code clearance data that I mentioned, where it says 51% of all murderers or murder suspects who are arrested for murder are black. That's the case is closed. The person is arrested. I mean, I say the case is closed, but the person is arrested. The case was designated as a homicide. But the ones that only have suspects and don't have anybody arrested is a very different statistical data point that's put out there that can be misconstrued. So if a person is designating something as a hate crime, there may not be an arrest. They may not have a suspect in mind, but a person can call the police and say, I was targeted, somebody threw a rock through my window and said the N-word. They will designate that as a hate crime, even though there's no real evidence that was a hate crime, if you know what I'm saying. And this stuff gets complicated when you look up statistical data, but that's what we have as an issue too, because a person can say, we've seen an increase in this over time. Before 2020, or before race relations were out of control, you will see a person that committed a crime against another, and it just be a simple assault. It'll be a simple, knocking a person's window out. It'll be a simple vandalism. But then once they ramped up this racial tension in our country and they started exacerbating interactions with people, and people start feeling validated and saying, I'm just going to accuse everybody of racism. Now, all of a sudden, the vandalism is not vandalism anymore. It's vandalism with the caveat of saying they did it because I was black. And you don't have to have any evidence for an officer to clear that call as a hate crime. We were taught that. You had to clear it. You don't know if the lady is lying or not. You can't say, oh, it was nothing because we don't see it. You have to clear it based on the accusation. If somebody said, hey, I was raped, right? It may not even be true. We know it's not true. Or at least we have a belief it's not true. But we can't prove it's not true. We just know that she didn't say nothing about this, and we know how victims act when stuff happened to them. And she's vague about this, and she don't want to prosecute, and she don't have a suspect description. She says she don't remember, and all of this other stuff that some people do that are lying. Some people do that, unfortunately, and are telling the truth. But for the people that are lying, you can look them in the eye, you know they full of crap. But then you have to clear the case as a rape. You have to. Just in case some evidence comes about, and the clearance is appropriated. And also some cities change the clearance. Sometimes they'll say something is a robbery instead of a burglary. And then therefore the numbers are inflated. So it can get weird. But what I will say, you can find a lot of truth, or at least a lot of confidence in the FBI statistics that I showed you with UCR clearance. And that's where you get that from. And Jasmine just talking out the side of her neck, because not one person that I know a white supremacist. Or whatever she said, white, whatever. Nobody knows that person. All right, let's go on to the next story of Wesley Hunt. Some of you guys know Representative Wesley Hunt. He's a representative in the state of Texas. I don't know what district he's in. But Wesley Hunt is from the state of Texas. I've seen him a few times. However, do we have the clip of D.L. Hughley? And then we have the clip of Wesley Hunt criticizing D.L. Hughley. Okay. So I don't know if you know who D.L. Hughley is. He's probably one of the best historical comedians that are black in America. I think he's probably top 15 comedians prolifically in America. Now, he didn't fell off the rails. He got Trump derangement syndrome that's out of control. That dude have literally said on the radio some crazy stuff about me, so much that my uncle said, man, I don't like that dude. He said something crazy about you on the radio the other day. D.L. Hughley will never sit down and debate me on any of these topics because he's a complete coward, in my personal opinion. But D.L. Hughley loved to bash black people who are conservative. But Wesley Hunt had a response to him, and I want y'all to watch it. Roll it.
Wesley Hunt from Texas. He saw Don's appearance with Bill Maher, and he said, I'm a proud husband, father of 3, combat veteran, West Point graduate, Ivy League triple degree holder, and a U.S. congressman. You know how I achieved that, Don? By being a serious, rational person.
Let's be real. How many people with those same qualifications have been fired and called DEI?
Well, first of all, according to D.L. Hughley's argument, every single black person should be a Democrat. And I think that's utterly ridiculous. You see, we have a two-party system, and you need people of all walks of life on both sides of the party, and that's what makes this system the best you could ever imagine and the best in the entire world. And the reason why I listed my qualifications is because, quite frankly, no, actually, Kamala Harris does not have my qualifications. I'm a West Point graduate. I served my country in combat as an Apache pilot. I have 3 master's degrees from Cornell University, and I'm the congressman for a white majority district that President Trump would have won by almost 20 points, and I won by 26 points, because literally people are not looking at the color of my skin, they're looking at my qualifications, and our party doesn't play that game.
So if you could say something to D.L. Hughley right now, what would you say?
I was actually a big fan of his growing up, and a big fan of his comedy.
I know,
and
me
I would
too.
love to actually have a conversation with him, a substantive conversation about this, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow, based on dialogue. And this whole thing started because Don Lemon made a carte blanche statement about all black people, which is utterly ridiculous. And you're saying that black people cannot choose the politics that they want to follow or choose the political party that they want to be a part of, because you want to silo them into thinking that we all have to be the exact same and think alike. We are not monolithic. We all have different backgrounds. We all come from different places. My military background is my father is a colonel. My sister is a West Point graduate. My brother is a West Point graduate. I grew up in a very conservative home. The left has nothing to offer someone like me based on the way that I grew up. And I'm smart enough to understand that and realize that. And I'm not going to continue to support the left if it doesn't coincide with the way I believe. We now have the right to choose whatever we want, and that's what I would tell DL.
Dang. Somebody, where my mic at? I gotta have a mic, man. Drop the mic. Man, that was good. Wesley Hunt. I seen him. I didn't know he was a West Point graduate, all these degrees and all that stuff. I knew he was a smart guy, but I didn't know he was that doggone smart. But D.L. Hughley and others like to paint the picture of black people being a monolith. They want us to be monolithic. The funny thing is that we fall for the monolithic theology, yet we are not monolithic in the way we're raised and where we come from. But for some reason, we somehow feel like we have to be united on certain things, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of almost like we have a bastardized view of unity in the black community, meaning that if it's stupid and most of us like it, we all need to be stupid. That's what they would say, instead of being like, no, we ain't going. That's just something that we going to diversify our opinions on. It's like, no, if we're going to be stupid, let's all be stupid. And also, I think it's just so tribal. And I wish that the world could understand, so we stop feeling sorry for black people, that black people are probably more evil to black people than white people are. When I was growing up, if you were light-skinned, it was a gift and a curse. All the men loved you if you were light-skinned. All the women hated on you because they wished they were light-skinned. And then all the women hated on you because your hair was good. You didn't have to get a perm in your hair. And all the darker skinned women was mad at that. And then on the men's side, the blacker you are, if that makes sense. Light-skinned brothers get treated like they not even black. You a half-breed. We should say you half-breed. You ain't really black. And so the brothers who are darker skinned get more credentialized. Their blackness gets more credentialized. And the lighter skinned dudes that are mixed, if you don't have two black parents, you go down on the totem pole. And that is functionally how it goes on in the black community all over the country. And most black people live around nothing but black people. So nobody can give me that. Oh, no. Most black people actually live around black people. So this is what we grew up realizing if you live in a black neighborhood. And then when you're told that white people are evil. So when you go out in the world, it's like your family. You know your family cutting up, but they can't say nothing about your family. And you go out in the world and it's us versus y'all now. And they don't like the white people or whatever the case may be. And I grew up not liking white people. And then once you mature as a man and you grow and you realize, oh, shoot, white people really ain't tripping like that. White people ain't even looking at me. They in their own world. I'm in my own world. They ain't thinking about racism. And if you ask me, I have never felt more safe, comfortable, happy, peaceful anywhere other than living around white people. It's just something about white people don't have that much drama like black people do. Go to an all-black neighborhood and you tell me how the experience go. And I'm not saying it's all black people. I'm just saying go to a primarily black neighborhood and then go to a primarily white neighborhood. And you tell me what the difference is. And if anybody want to contest what I'm saying, where does your favorite football player live? Where does your favorite actor live? Where does your favorite activist live? Where do they live at? Okay. One of them live in a black neighborhood in Atlanta, but the rest of them live around nothing but white people. Where is Patrice Cullors, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter? Where does she buy her real estate? And where does she live? Calabasas, none but white people. All right. Yeah, don't have to believe me. But I hope that one day D.L. Hughley can get on a panel or something. He won't. He's too emotional. That dude emotional wreck. But I wish that one day he'll get on a panel and like be willing to have a real discussion about the real issues in the black community and why they need to stop hating on black conservatives. All right. I think I got time for one more. I think I'm going to go with the 11-year-old situation. So this 11-year-old girl ended up going to jail or getting arrested. Now, just so you know, culpability starts at 8 years old. So if your kid is 8, they can go to jail. They get arrested. They can actually serve time in jail. Will it happen? You got to do something crazy to serve time as an 8-year-old. And how do you know, Mr. Tatum? Because I went to juvenile when I was 8. They arrested me, put me in the back, a bunch of us in the back of the car, took me to the cell. And my daddy came in there like he was in a WWE or something. He was about to body everybody. It was the scariest day of my life, and I thank God he didn't whoop me. Probably he didn't whoop me because he was so mad he probably would kill me. But we ended up going to juvenile for smoking weed in a vacant house. Anyway, it's funny how God turned your story into something else. When I was living in that moment, I thought I was a scum of the earth. They told us we were gonna do a year in jail. That scared the out of me. I was gonna be in jail for a year, juvenile for a year. You know how crazy that is as a kid, knowing you didn't see your family for a whole year. I had a pit in my stomach every day until they finally let us go. Anyway, this young girl faked the kidnapping as a YouTube challenge, and it went south as F. Roll the clip.
So there was a text message from someone saying they were behind a car. Their friend was kidnapped from a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast, and they were on the interstate behind the car.
Everything on your phone is telling me that you made a phone call to 911.
I didn't talk.
Because you did something stupid.
On July 26, 2023,
what she
dispatchers
get.
in Volusia County receive urgent 911 text from a driver who claims to be following an armed kidnapper's van on the interstate. When they trace the phone, however, they learn the messages are coming from a residence in Port Orange, turning a plea for help into an unexpected lesson
Daddy
in
hot as a mug.
consequences.
I'm telling you this right now. You're going to take this as a lesson at 11 years old that if you do something stupid in the future, you're going to enjoy those cuffs.
I'm not going to do this today.
So there was a text message from someone saying they were behind a car. Their friend was kidnapped from a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast, and they were on the interstate behind the car.
Everything on your phone is telling me that you made a phone call to 911.
What happened?
After 9:45
Okay, one second.
a.m.,
Hold on a second.
911 begins.
I just want to say this. I'm not sure if that dude in plain clothes was her daddy or not. I thought it was her daddy. He could be an undercover cop. I'm gonna let it play out. Roll it.
Receiving texts from someone named Lily Lee Combs. She claims to be following a kidnapper's van on the interstate, and updates are still pouring in. Volusia County deputies, multiple area police departments, and a helicopter join the urgent search. When they fail to locate the van, a deputy tries calling the phone number that's been sending the text messages.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, RP confirming they are in a blue Jeep, victim in a white van. Of course it's a white van, like it just...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying this by any means, but it's just...
Yeah.
I've had calls like this before.
Their suspicions about the text messages are all but confirmed when a GPS trace on the phone comes back to a residence in Port Orange, indicating the texter is not traveling on the highway as they claim.
Is this your residence, sir?
This is.
Do you have a daughter
Oh, yeah,
or a
he's
child
daddy.
at the home named by Lily Lee?
No.
No?
Anybody home?
Yeah, my wife, my kids. We just got home from Pennsylvania.
You're fine.
Someone texted into 911 that someone was getting kidnapped and they were on the interstate, but then when they went and did like a location on the phone, the address was showing up here.
As their daughter Ava steps into the garage, her phone rings. The deputy answers it, leading to a shocking conclusion.
Hello? Hold on. Who's this?
Volusia County Sheriff's Office.
All right, cool. This is Deputy Asby, the Sheriff's Office.
Oh, good. You got her.
Yep. All right. So all these other numbers. So there's a phone call out to 911.
There's a phone call out to
Yeah.
911? What time?
That's her call.
That's her calling it.
There's 911 again right there.
This phone was called
These numbers calling back in are no caller ID.
You did.
So there was a text message from someone saying they were behind a car.
Did I call this
who
back?
was kidnapped.
That's
Their friend was kidnapped from a Chick-fil-A in Palm Coast, and they were on the interstate behind the car.
What time is this?
This is this is today. This
Oh,
is
we
actively
got
going on
home at
right
2:30 in the morning.
now. Okay.
So we were here the whole time since 2:30.
What were you planning on happening out of this?
Oh God. He probably want to kill her.
The dispatcher or the call taker over text, and then when I caught her up, she told me to F myself and stop responding. Cut her up.
Oh my God.
Like got her caught up. Like, hey, you know what's up? The jig's up.
Based on Ava's statements, deputies decide there's enough probable cause to arrest Ava and prepare to take the 11-year-old into custody.
minute. There's that. Hey.
Listen carefully what's going to happen here. No one's going to hurt you. You're going to sit in the car for now, okay? If you go somewhere, what it's going to involve is taking pictures, taking fingerprints, and then they're going to call your parents to come and get you. So don't make the situation any worse. They'll be up shortly after that.
Minutes later, the reality of the situation continues to have an emotional impact on her parents.
This is the best punishment for her right now. It sucks for us, but this is the best thing for her because she's bouncing with it.
It sucks for us. I work my off with you to keep this kid doing stuff normal like we did as kids, and this is the she does.
According to a statement from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, 11-year-old Ava was charged with making a false police report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner, a felony, and misuse of 911, a misdemeanor.
Good. I'm running out of time, but good. I think that she should get arrested. They should perp walk her. Of course, they're not going to hold her accountable for anything. Nobody got hurt. Her parents might have to pay some restitution because when you use police resources in a manner where you're having helicopters and all kind of stuff involved, they charge you money for that. I don't know about in Florida, or this looked like Florida. I don't know about where they at, but I know that in Arizona, you start using police resources in a false way, or you make a false report, or we have an idiot policy where it's called a dumb motors law, where if there's a wash and you know the wash is running water and you drive your car and you get stuck and they have to rescue you, have to pay for the rescue efforts. If you are at Camelback Mountain and you shouldn't have never gone up there because it was 115 degrees and they have to rescue you, they make you pay for the rescue effort. So this young girl probably gonna get her parents in a whole lot of hot water when it comes to finances because the efforts that they put in to find this van, the resources that they used, was all false. Now let me just say this. I think that the police officers handled it properly. As a parent, scared the living out of my kid if he do something like that. Scare him to death. Send him to jail. Tell him he can go to jail for 40 years. I'll play along with y'all because I want him to never do something this stupid again. But this speaks to a bigger trend that as parents, you need to pay attention to what I'm about to say. There is a lot of this going on. Pay attention to your kids doing stupid stuff. There's a whole bunch of challenges that have happened that's resulted to kids getting killed and dying and getting hurt and all kind of the stuff. I'm going to name a few so you can pay attention to it. The blackout challenge. We used to, and I ain't going to lie, we used to do this when we were young, but it wasn't as prolific because there wasn't no internet. But the blackout challenge is literally for people to choke each other or choke themselves in order to, if they did it like we did it, to have that passing out experience where you don't pass out, but you get high, you feel a rush, and you're like, oh, man, God, that feels crazy. But then kids are doing it too much, too far. They're going too far, and 20 kids have died from 2021 to 2022 doing that blackout challenge. There's a Benadryl challenge where they take Benadryl, and taking too much Benadryl will make you hallucinate. And that's what they want to do. They want to take enough Benadryl to make them hallucinate. However, that hallucination killed a 13-year-old named Jacob Stevens in 2023. And there's probably more. This is the way it was reported. The Orbeez, I think it's called, Orbeez challenge, shooting gel pellets at people with toy guns, which has led to many injuries and kids getting arrested for it. The Dragon's Breath, eating liquid nitrogen-coated candy, which it just goes without saying that it's probably flammable or have a chemical reaction in your stomach. It's caused burns and poisoning over 20-plus kids in January of 2023. I think this may have been in Indonesia. There's another one, the true crime community influence. A 13-year-old girl died by suicide after being involved in an online group that idolizes criminals. The planned hit and run. A 13-year-old boy killed a bicyclist on purpose, filmed it, and shared it online in May of 2024. Related to an online challenge. Beware of your children on social media platforms. Beware of them doing these stupid challenges. Show them this video of them arresting an 11-year-old girl to let them know that you're not playing. And there's a couple other videos on here, correct? The 7-year-old girl burned in TikTok challenge. Those are just articles. Okay, there's the articles. All right. So we don't have those to display, but I just wanted to throw that out there for y'all to be aware of it. All right. Let's see if we got some super chats we can get in 5 minutes. All right, we're almost there. All right, I'm gonna try to do this in 5 minutes. Corey, thanks so much for being a member for 8 months. This is crazy. Let's see, Waterloo Maid. Am I saying that right? Maybe you can ask those questions about the CIA with Myron Gaines when you have him on. He used to work for Homeland Security. That may be a good portion of an interview that me and him would do, because I definitely want to talk to him about his crazy opinions about women, but also he does have some knowledge about working for the FBI. I'm happy Trump is in. Democrats never should be. 100%. Let's see. Cassandra, Democrats should never win again. I agree 1,000%. I don't know how they win again. The Democrat Party needs to be like Romo, or better yet, Pompey. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Dustin said, I think that's your best shirt yet. I appreciate it. Y'all can get this right on the website. It's called Jesus Shirt. Let's see. Black Suburban Dad Reviews. It says, when I was young, dumb, the white woman my mom worked for got me a lawyer when I got arrested. The same white woman bought my parents a house and allowed her to pay her back instead of the bank because they had bad credit. I wish I had more time, but I got a little bit more time now. But this is 100% accurate in a lot of cases. When I didn't have nothing, when I had my son, my youngest son, my oldest son, when I had my oldest son, I didn't have anything. Me nor his mama did. We were in college. Now, we could have begged our parents to help us out and send us money, but neither one of our parents were wealthy. I mean, they were good enough to probably give us $100 or so, but we didn't have nothing. A man came to me, white guy. Me and him are still close to this day. He came to me and said, look, you chose life, and I want to help you. Because I was in college, and so was she. He said, I want to help you. That guy gave me $700 a month for rent. Our rent was $720. So we only had to pay $20 for rent. He gave me money. He mentored me. He supported in the best ways that he could to help us in our relationship, to keep us together. He helped my son. When my son turned about 3, he set us down and had a meeting and said he's going to pay for my son to go to college anywhere he want to go when he turn 18. Any college that he choose, he'll pay for it. I mean, this guy been a mentor to me ever since then. And I don't want to put his name out there. I don't know if he wants his name out there. But that's a white man. When I was down and out, and we were on food stamps, and she was making $1,000 a month from a scholarship check, and I had graduated. I had to stay at home with the baby. She still went to school. We were bringing $1,000 a month. A white man decided that he was going to help us. No black people helped us. And you could say maybe because there's not a lot of black people or whatever it can be. I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to pick sides, but I'm saying when people start talking bad about white people, I say, hold the phone. Because a lot of people that I know that are successful, that are black, that are doing legitimate stuff. I'm not talking about these scammers. I'm talking about people that are doing legitimate stuff. A lot of people that are behind their success are white people who saw a vision in them and helped them. See, this country is so racist. I'll argue like 99% of, I would say probably 85% of all black entrepreneurial success came with a white person being involved at some level. Whether it's a white person that gave you a loan when you didn't deserve it, whether it's a white person like the gentleman just said, that bought their family a home and let them pay them back because their credit was bad. You go down the list. That's why I get so grieved when people act like white people are horrible and that this country is full of white racists that hate black people and minorities. I feel like white people do more for people than anybody else. I can go down the list, y'all. Go look at who represent these people as lawyers. Why don't they use an all-black law firm? They don't want to. Because they know they can't live a life with just isolating themselves being black. They know it. What's up, Tatum? Love your content. Thank you for being transparent in a world full of deception. I was a knucklehead growing up and have seen both sides of the fence. Excited to become me a juvenile probation officer and help. I may be excited to become a juvenile probation officer and help. I love that. Appreciate it. I love hearing your perspective on things. Keep doing you. God bless you and your family. All right, God bless you. I appreciate it. Regarding, I guess, my Romo and what is that? Pompey? Is that how you say that? Pompey chat? I can't see that. What does that say?
Be like Rome and fall, or be like Pompeii and burn.
Oh, okay. Oh, Rome. Did I say Romo?
Yeah, like Tony Romo.
I was thinking Tony Romo the whole time. Yeah. He said, "You be like Romo." I'm thinking of Tony Romo and then say Rome. Did he say Romo though? He maybe said Rome, and I just read Tony Romo. Oh, he said Rome. That's why I got it all off. I'm thinking you to my football. I'm like, who is Pompey in football? I thought you said be like Tony Romo and freaking freeze every time you're in the Super Bowl or every time you're in a playoff game. Well, I got dyslexia, but I can't read to save my life. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I got a meeting here coming up. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.
Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.